All right, you asked for it, we got him. Michael Myers, let's jump into some of the coolest masks in the world. All right, here we have it, the mask that started it all, the 1975 Captain Kirk mask from Don Post Studios. It was originally sculpted by Bill Malone off a life cast of William Shatner. It's more famous for other reasons, of course. Don Post Studios never really wanted to make a Captain Kirk mask in the first place. They wanted to make a few of the aliens from Star Trek, but they were basically told if they didn't make a Captain Kirk and a Spock mask that they weren't going to get the license for the alien masks. So they went ahead and made them, and as predicted, they sold like crap. So a few years later, Don Post Studios and costume shops couldn't even give these things away, but that was far from the end of the story for this mask. Serious horror history was in the making, and nobody knew it. Basically, a few years later, they were making John Carpenter's Halloween, and they made it for a super small budget. So it was kind of a perfect storm that led to the creation of Michael Myers. Tommy Lee Wallace basically had nothing to go on other than a pale blank face, and he knew that he couldn't make a mask from scratch. It'd be too expensive and take too much time, so he had to go out and find a mask that he could just alter for the shape. So he dug through the discount bin at a costume shop and found the Captain Kirk mask and thought it was a pretty blank, expressionless face that he could alter to turn into the shape. And he was very correct, probably more so than he ever thought. I don't think anyone could have predicted how iconic this mask was gonna end up being and what an impact it was going to have. The transformation was fairly simple. He just ripped off the eyebrows, ripped off the sideburns, sprayed the hair black, and sprayed the face white, and the iconic Michael Myers mask was created. The original Kirk masks, they were a lot more blonde. It was very bright blonde and kind of like a darker skin tone, but I'm pretty sure when Trick or Treat Studios made these masks, they knew that a lot of us were going to be converting them into Myers masks. So they kind of helped us along the way. They gave us some darker hair and a lighter skin tone. But again, I'm just so happy that this mask exists and so happy that Trick or Treat Studios released it, because it allowed nerds like me to go and make our own Myers masks, which I know hundreds of people have done at this point, and for a lot of us it was a dream come true. It's an excellent resculpt by Justin, and as always, Trick or Treat Studios did a really good job with this one. So without further ado, let's take a look at what the mask ended up looking like after Tommy Lee Wallace got his talented hands on it. Alright, so this is the original 1978 Michael Myers mask from John Carpenter's Halloween. This is the mask that started my obsession as a kid. It's by far my favorite in the franchise. None of the other masks even come close to it in my opinion. It's just perfect. The main thing that sets this mask's look apart from the rest of the movies is mostly just how it fit on Nick Castle's face. Nick Castle played the shape in most of the film, and he has just a really long, stretched out face with a really strong chin, and he also had a big afro at the time, so just all that combined to make this castle stretch, as we fans call it. That, along with the eye cuts. The eye cuts never really looked like they did in the first movie again until maybe the newest film that we're going to talk about next week, but there's just this like overwhelming look of sorrow in his eyes, and it just is what makes that head tilt so effective in my opinion. Never really looked quite as good as this one. Tots doesn't do a whole lot of weathering on these masks. They're mostly just white. But honestly, when I close my eyes and I think about Michael Myers, he's mostly just white with brown hair. He's definitely looks different from scene to scene in the movie, and sometimes there's more weathering, sometimes there's less. But usually when you see the mask, like you get a clear shot of it in the daylight, it's mostly just white. It's really not as weathered as a lot of people make it out to be. But a super weathered one can look really cool. But I like that Trick or Treat Studios just went with mostly just a white face. There are like little hints of blue in it, and that's because probably the scene that shows the mask most clearly is the phone scene, and there's a lot of harsh blue light in that scene, and so they threw a little bit of like blue hues in there. Yeah, this is a perfect sculpt by Justin, and with a little TLC you can really make this look screen accurate. Being able to get a sculpt this perfect for 60 bucks is just mind-blowing. It's almost a hobby for a lot of Tots fans to shit on these Myers masks, but you're really wrong. If you're one of those people, please send me a mask in history for less than 100 bucks that looked as good as one of these Tots masks, and I'll wait forever, because you can't do it. They don't exist. So just appreciate that you can get masks like this for 60 bucks, and then if you wanna put a little love into it, like it's so easy to convert this mask into like a screen accurate one. It's probably one of the easiest paint jobs ever, and in a future video I'm going to show you how to do it. So stay tuned for that, but really, even if you don't end up painting it, this mask for 60 bucks is just a dream come true. But it wasn't the first mask that Trick or Treat Studios made. The first one was the H2, so let's take a look at that one. Alright, so as I said before, this was the first Michael Myers mask or Halloween product that Chris Zeffro was able to score the license for Trick or Treat Studios in the early days of the business. Again, there was never a mass-produced, affordable Myers mask that looked good until Tots put this mask out. So it sold like crazy and really put Tots on the map. It opened up the floodgates for them to get licenses for all kinds of really cool masks. So that's one of the reasons I really like this mask, just the history of it, like it just leading to so many other cool masks from Trick or Treat Studios. This one obviously has a whole lot more weathering, with almost the entire neck being skin tone. The big thing missing from it, of course, is the castle stretch. Nick Castle wasn't in the second movie. It was played by Dick Warlock, who moved really well as Myers, but he had just a vastly different shaped head than Nick Castle did. Also, the mask was just like old and shriveled up, and so it just kind of shriveled around Dick Warlock's head, and it's not my favorite look, honestly, but I know that I'm in the minority there. Most people, or a lot of people anyways, H2 is their favorite movie and their favorite Myers look. And again, it is a cool mask. I may not be the hugest fan of H2, but the next mask that we're gonna look at recreates my favorite part of that movie, so let's check that one out. Okay, here's the Blood Tears version of the H2 Deluxe mask. It's the same sculpt and pretty much the same paint job, other than the obvious blood tears. They were created from Laurie Strode in the climax of the film with 2 direct hits. I don't know where she learned how to shoot, but I'm glad that she did, because it creates a really cool part of the movie. It's just fun seeing Myers bleeding from the eyes and blinded and doesn't know where to go. But yeah, there's not too much more I can say about this mask, but Tots did a great job of recreating a really cool moment in the film. So let's look at my favorite part of H2, the Ben Tramer mask. Poor old Ben Tramer had to buy the exact same mask as Michael Myers, cut the same eye holes, and wear the same jumpsuit on the exact same night, and got mistaken by the cops and cooked to a crisp. Unfortunately for Laurie, she'll never get to go to the dance with Ben Tramer. If only that cop was a little smarter and looked a little closer, would have realized that he left the blonde hair and the sideburns and painted his gray, not white. But, oh well. This is probably my favorite of all the Trick or Treat Studios, like Michael Myers masks, actually. It's an awesome recreation of the Ben Tramer mask. It's so cool that they actually did that. Because again, it's just a big fan favorite part of the movie, and it's just really cool seeing a little bit different version of the mask. Also, it's kind of a sneaky way for Trick or Treat Studios to release an H1 sculpt before they had the license to do so. They put it out as a Ben Tramer mask under the Halloween 2 umbrella, but the eye cuts are super reminiscent of the '78 film, as well as you have that castle stretch back. It's very much kind of supposed to be an H1 mask. It is super easy to convert into an H1 mask. It takes the hard part of cutting the eye holes out and basically just leaves all the fun stuff. You can rip the sideburns off, spray the hair black, and spray the face white, and you pretty much have an H1 mask. But now that they have the H1 license, I'm really happy that they continue to put this mask out, because again, it as itself, as a Ben Tramer mask, with the hair, the way that they do it and the way they paint it, it's just my favorite of the Trick or Treat Studios Myers masks in general. It's kind of the most consistent with the eye cuts as well. So yeah, big fan of the Tramer mask. Let's take a look at another H2 mask that kind of leans more towards H1, but is legally safe. All right, so this is the Halloween 2 Elrod mask. The Elrod mask is supposed to replicate the way the mask looked like in the beginning of Halloween 2 when he's in the Elrod house. Again, there's a lot of different theories as to why the mask looks like it does in the first movie in the Elrod. I'll keep my theory to myself. If you ask 50 different Myers fans why the Elrod mask looks like the H1 mask, you'll get 50 different answers, all with no evidence to back it up. So just do your own research, form your own opinions. But that being said, in that scene, it does look a lot closer to the original mask than any other scene in the film. And so it was kind of another safe way for Trick or Treat Studios to put out an H1 mask without getting into legal trouble. In fact, now that they own the license for H1, they just call this the Boogeyman mask. And it's not necessarily tied to H2 or H1. It's a cool mask. I like it. Everyone sees the character differently when they close their eyes and think about it, so the more versions that Tots puts out, the better in my opinion. Keep them coming. With that, let's move on to the next Halloween sequel. Sadly, this is the part when we have to skip over my favorite Halloween masks from my favorite Halloween movie because they have nothing to do with Michael Myers, and we already covered the big three in the first installment of Mask Monday. But if the confusion of the H3 masks wasn't enough for you, let's take a look at the clusterfuck of masks made for Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. Okay, so this is the poster mask for Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. It looks extremely similar to the design from H1, which was no mistake. Audiences were infuriated by the insanely cool idea of Halloween 3 and demanded more Michael. So the ad campaigns for H4 did everything they could to bring those audiences back, including making the title a direct promise that Michael Myers would return and plastering that iconic image of the original mask all over the ad campaigns and posters and everything for the film. And just like the ad campaigns for that movie, I'm gonna tease you with the image of this mask and deliver something completely different next week in the final Michael Myers installment of Mask Monday. That's part 1 of the Michael Myers masks. Join us next week for the return of Michael Myers. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and visit us at nightmaretoys.com.